Hello and welcome to OrangeJuiceCast. I'm joined by my good friend Martin, and we're going to be talking about the Oscar-nominated Best Picture films. Woo!
Hello. Hello.
Which of these films, if any, are better than The Hobbit? Who knows? We'll tell you. So we're just gonna. This is actually the first year where I've actually watched all of the Best Picture nominees and the pretty much main Best Animated and Best International Foreign Film. So it's quite interesting. I've even watched some of the snubs, quote unquote. I'm relatively confident in what I think, but I mean,
you're well versed. You're well versed on what to say.
I'll probably be completely wrong in all my predictions, though. So I think should we just get straight into it? What's a film that you want to talk about, Martin? I think we'll wait until, because the only two films you haven't seen, I think, are Trial of the Chicago 7 and Mank, which I've seen.
Yes.
I think we'll talk about those after. So
yes, I predicted it. I kind of my reasoning for not watching them has been very kind of validated by your reviews of them, which we'll get to later.
Yeah.
Just from watching the trailers, but I'd say. Ooh, what film do we start? Should we just go with chronologically on what we watched? And that's probably
I think it's probably a good idea. Yeah, Nomadland. This year's front runner, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I think when we watched this, we were sort of like, oh, that's right.
That's all I could say, really.
Yeah, because it's more of a there's not really any drama or people or any change in character. It's just sort of like a snapshot of Frances McDormand's life as a traveling nomad in America, essentially.
Yeah, it's a good capture of a traveler for sure. But
she bathes naked in the fucking river, and so she's going to get the Oscar.
She pisses on screen, I assume.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, she does. Yeah,
but it is well boring.
It is well boring. I know. It's some of the shots of the American Southwest or whatever. Oh, they're very pretty or whatever, but it's just miserable woman goes from place to place.
Yeah.
Stinking up the place of her misery.
We watched this about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, and have since watched every Best Picture and a few other, like you said, snubs. And I don't really remember much from it, which I think is testament to what I found in the film. It's good, and I'm sure within that you could say, oh, the fact that nothing's really graspable in the film is parallel to her life and that stuff. But ultimately, I just didn't really like it.
No, I'm completely with you. I remember a cut being like, oh, this is nice. Oh, this looks pretty nice. That's about it. Nothing. I remember saying at the exact point she won the Oscar, oh, she's just laying naked in the fucking water. I was like, okay, well, yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, because she was great in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, so she is a wonderful actress, but it's just meandering, and I don't know how else to describe it. It's very boring.
Yeah,
nothing happens.
It is, and I you can compare it to a few other films within the Best Picture, specifically Minari and Sound of Metal, which have very, very little substance and content, but I think, personally, those other two options deliver way more than Nomadland, and I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's because there's no resolution, or no mystery or start, beginning, end of her journey. It is just the same thing going over again.
I guess that's the point of the film, in a sense, but it was I don't know. And wasn't it also an Amazon picture, but she was working in Amazon.
So that I did want to mention that every Christmas they have it's like a traveler a work program, and they portrayed Amazon as like this, like, oh wow, these Amazon really helps out the community. They really just great all round. They really help. It's just I was like, I've heard awful stories about these camps for these traveller people. Like I've heard, it's a bit okay, and I mean, but thing is, I think this is the year for like female directors and
yes, for sure. Three have been nominated, right? For best
picture.
Well,
no. So two have been nominated, but one got snubbed, which is One Night in Miami.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I mean, I think both like Promising Young Woman and One Night in Miami are infinitely better than Nomadland, but I think Nomadland just sweeps it. I don't know. Yeah. I really don't have much more to say about it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I think Chloe Zhao, her directing was really, really good, and I'm excited to see what she does next.
She's done a fucking Marvel movie.
Yeah, let's excluding the Eternals or Eternals Part 4 or Eternals / Crank 6 with God. Jason Statham. I don't know.
They make Kumail Nanjiani get fucking 6-pack.
Oh yeah, he looks great.
He does look great.
But in terms of actual like enjoyment, it's hard to judge because obviously your Oscar nominations. I mean, I think this will win Best Picture, but it's probably my least enjoyable film out of the ones I watched. Obviously, I didn't watch Mank and The Trial of Chicago 7. But if you exclude those two, this is probably my least enjoyable out of all the others. And somehow I feel like it will win the Oscar. So I don't think enjoyment correlates to like Best Picture.
I mean, I didn't take much from this film. Like, being a traveller sucks. Pretty much, but like some people do it because they have certain reasons. Yeah, okay, but mainly it looks like it fucking sucks. Yeah, and that's conveyed. And
I didn't. Maybe I drifted off. I don't know, but like, I get there was a kind of What was the reason? What is like that magic moment? Like, yeah.
This is why like she's standing in like a canyon or something looking out and she's like free and the music drops off. You have that one scene which is like, this is it, this is the whole reason why this lifestyle is for me. Instead it almost felt like she was just running from something the whole time.
And
they never resolved anything,
right?
or
her past relationship ended or something like that.
Well, so it's like her husband died, and the village, because it was like a mining town or something, very tied to like certain work, and that closed down, and so her whole community dissipated. It's just boring. Sorry, it's just boring.
Yeah, I mean, I'd happily talk about every other film in that Best Picture for longer. So
I'd happily talk about Godzilla vs King Kong for more.
Or the Mortal Kombat movie.
Yes. But yeah, it'll win. I reckon it'll win Best Picture. Whereas I think the other female directors did a better job, no offence. Maybe not in directing, but in the actual films.
Yeah, if you script and directing, cinematography, a combination of everything. It was just, in general, a better film. I enjoyed Promising All and More. I enjoyed One Night in Miami, even though it got snubs.
Yes.
And I actually just enjoyed every other film on that list more.
Well, here's the thing.
Besides Mank and Chicago 7, which I didn't watch.
Here's the thing with Chloe Zhao, is like she's clearly a very talented director. It's just like, I wish that the subject matter or the content of the movie was way more interesting. Like, I would be excited to see what she would do with something a bit more meaty. Or I say a bit more meaty than the Best Picture.
You mean like Marvel's The Eternals? I can't.
Maybe.
Deals with
I don't know, like something a bit less wishy-washy and abstract. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that film. What film did we watch next? Was it Minari afterwards?
Well, we also watched First Cow, which really got snubbed.
Oh yeah.
Like really, really got snubbed.
Yeah.
Which I liked.
I really liked actually.
Maybe not as much.
It's grown on me because usually films like you watch and you go, oh, that's pretty good at the time. You're like, oh, it's 7 or 8 out of 10. but then when you go to bed, you think about them more, and you like remember parts fondly. Whereas like Nomadland, I fucking can't remember anything, pretty much. Whereas First Cow, I remember quite fondly quite a lot of the film. It's a good little film.
Probably we watched Minari. I think it was Minari.
Yeah. Shout out to First Cow though. That definitely was a very, very good film. And did like a period piece very well in a very interesting way that I wouldn't have expected, with like quite dark, well not dark comedy, but like deadpan comedy. And I thought it was really nice.
Yeah, and it was just a very well told story. I mean, like I'd have put that in there for Nomadland, even if we think Nomadland will win the Oscar. I'd have put that in there more because I connected more with these two random guys milking a cow and making donuts.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that their relationship was so nice. It was a surprisingly feel-good film as well.
Yeah, every character, including all the side characters, like the chief. I can't remember.
The chieftain, the Native American chieftain.
And he was looking at them and getting the donuts, being like, "This donut," doing his little speech. Everyone got their moment in that film. It was just really sweet.
Yeah, I think
despite the bleak ending.
Yeah, but that's it. Because it's a bleak setting, and yet they made a relatively like light-hearted, feel-good film, even though. And like Orion Lee, it was like his first big film. I think he's a very talented actor. Hopefully, see more of him in the future. He liked my tweet as well, so I'm not saying I'm famous, but I know people in the industry. All right, let's move on to. Yeah. Well, I'll throw my hat back to the little people in my life. So I think the next big film we watched, which is actually on the list, is Minari, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
I was really looking forward to this, and it's actually surprisingly, I did really enjoy it, but it's surprisingly not even in my top 4 or 5 of these films.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
So it's a Korean family moving to Arkansas in America in the 80s, trying to sort of up sticks and make follow the American dream and make...
Build the American dream, for sure. Own a bit of land and profit off that land.
Yeah, have a farm, make Korean vegetables and sell them, sort of thing. It's a very nice film. It starts off quite slow, in that you get introduced to like the characters, the family, Stephen Yeun, and just like the dynamic and like what's going to happen. But I don't think it really kicks into gear until the grandmother comes in.
Yes, and when the son gets a little bit more airtime. Yes, and especially the relationship between that grandmother and the son. That's where the movie really kicks into gear. Yeah, it really, it honestly, it's like, it just like completely encapsulates everything in the film. And I'm like, oh, I get what this film is now. I get that this is it. This is, enthralling. Which is surprising. I mean, I really expected it to be more to do with like, because when they introduced, the crazy American guy who believes in angels and stuff, who works on the farm, I was thinking, okay, I know where this is going. Religiously, religious persecution, foreign people coming into a land in America. Oh, I see where this is going. And it doesn't go there at all. It absolutely avoids that completely. And I have to give credit to the film in building up all of the characters and their connections. Because by the end of the film, which is a kind of like a tragic end, in which the plantation and the kind of plants they've built up, and the kind of all
the hopes and dreams, really,
is all kind of put into turmoil with a large fire. When they were trying to risk their lives to try and fix that. It was very emotional. Very
emotional. If you really feel like this is literally everything they've ever built towards is like gone. And it also helps because the wife and Stephen Yeun, all film, they barely spend any like time like saying anything nice to each other. Like she's just like a fucking, you're just a dreamer. You know, it's a waste of time, mate. And she's like, he doesn't have like, well, she wants to like improve her like chicken skills or something. So she's more interested in like just working in that career to just save for her children.
Yeah. And
towards the end of the film, it's like it naturally reveals Stephen Yeun's character change. So that's quite nicely tied off at the end. But yeah, it is. But let's go back to the grandmother and the son. That's the fucking.
Yeah.
Just every moment with them is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, they were both in different ways, kind of ends of the spectrum in terms of charming. You know, old person charming and young person charming.
Yeah, because I mean,
just a delight.
Yeah, you have this like a conceived notion of like maybe a strict grandparent or like she's gonna come in, but she was just like just a really lovely grandparent who just really wanted to connect to to the children and be a benefit to the family in some way. And I was expecting it to be more like a clash of cultures, like when the young kid likes all the American food, she's drinking Mountain Dew, and I was expecting like the grandmother to be like, no, you shouldn't be drinking that, you know, blah, 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 it's bad, blah, blah, American stuff. But no, she's just like, oh, let me try some of this. Like, she's very accepting and open-minded, which is very refreshing. And yeah, anything with them together and their slowly burgeoning connection is, I mean, I was in tears at like 2 points in the film, just purely because of just like the tragic moments that happen. And yeah, I predicted that Yuh-Jung would, I hope that's how you pronounce her name, would win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, because she was great. Fucking marvellous.
Yeah.
And that kid is going to go places.
Oh yeah, any like little kind of content with him at the moment. It's just like, I saw him today actually, in just like a little cowboy suit doing little poses. And I was like,
it's very sweet.
Yeah, the greatest.
Yeah. No, I really like that film.
I don't know if he'll get Best Support. I don't know if he's actually nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I think he was in the Critics' Choice Awards, and he won, which is great. Great to see.
That is good. Well, I think generally child actors don't get nominated for Oscars.
Yeah.
I guess out of principle of like, you know, if they grow into an actor or something. But I mean, if there was like a, God, I reckon if they did if they had like a more like child actor nomination category, he would win. And that obviously he's been sweeping up in some of the other award ceremonies where he can be nominated. So yeah, no, good. I really like this film. I very much recommend it.
Me too.
I actually think we watched another round first before Minari. So.
Oh yeah, so I was just looking at the Best Picture films.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously, it wasn't. We can talk about that.
Let's talk about another round. I loved this film. This is my second favourite of the films in. I think
it was also my second favourite as well, right? Even though our first favourite is different.
Well, our first and the third like swap places. Which is weird. But I mean, they're all very close. They're all very much like 9s out of 10s, like really good. Yeah, another round is a Danish international film starring Mads Mikkelsen, and it's about alcohol. And I think it got a bit of controversy because obviously it's not just like you're, you know, brain dead, boneheaded, alcohol bad, drink a lot of alcohol, life ruin, bad. It's very much like a more nuanced take of what the whole idea of alcohol and being drunk and confident does to a person.
We can expect from, I mean,
Thomas Vinterberg.
Danish film, right? So
yeah,
they're very prominent in their beer drinking.
Yeah.
I think they've got high.
I think they're like top 3 countries who of the most drinkers or something.
And that comes across in the film for sure.
So I mean, the concept of the film is these like middle-aged teachers who are sort of lacking luster in life, and they're reaching their like almost midlife crisis, or like everything's not. They're fine in life, but there's no passion or anything. And so they realise that one of them knows about this old Danish philosopher who says that everyone's blood alcohol level is 0.5 millilitres too low naturally and needs to be obviously regulated. And so they had this theory of testing, being drunk during the day, just like during the whole day, just this level of like I don't know, inebriation of to the point where they can perform like buzzing or something.
Slightly intoxicated, yeah.
Yeah, will improve them. Yeah, it'll improve their confidence in their everyday, social skills and everything. And it's a surprisingly very funny film. I don't know why. Very heartwarming, very dramatic, sad, and it's just I don't know. I think it's just a very good film. Just anyone could watch this. Like a family could watch this and be like, oh, it's really good.
Yeah, especially considering the subject matter. Which is about, I feel like it could be for all ages, which is very, very strange. There are many points in which it shows the kind of negative sides to drinking alcohol, and especially a lot of alcohol. This fallouts with the main character and his family, his two children. But also, it does kind of go into. It doesn't. Yeah, like you said, it doesn't go into the kind of trope of alcohol bad. Don't do it, kids. End credits.
Yeah, because they're all quite sensible teachers who have like the first thing they mention is like, look, we need to regulate this because if we don't want to become alcoholics, this is just to test the theory sort of thing.
It really was a social experiment for them.
Yeah, and I kept expecting it to be like Mads Mikkelsen's done a drink before work. He's going to smell his breath, and it never becomes that because he's smart enough to keep it so sensible. And it's just like, but what really sells this is that the group of friends really feel like a group of mates down the pub, and their interactions are very nice and funny and
also just, Mads Mikkelsen, the main character, is kind of the one of the four friends that isn't entirely into the idea and is also he's the one that is kind of suffering most in a midlife crisis. That's where the stem of the movie comes from. He's like,
the impetus.
Fallen out of love slightly with his wife and doesn't feel like he's respected by his kids, also by his students.
Yeah.
He's the driving force in the film, and then it all stems from that first dinner scene where they're all getting drunk, but he's not because he's the designated driver or whatever. Yeah. And they tell him go on, and and then from that he starts feeling good.
Just starts breaking down crying because he was just like, oh, fucking my life is, and they just like come and have a drink, and he does, and he has a good time and cheers up, and from that they sort of like go, he sort of realizes he wants to make a change, and I mean it does get to the point of like because there is obviously alcoholism and alcohol abuse in this film, but when it happens it's not because I've been drinking too much over an extended period of time, I've become addicted to it. It's more like, you don't realise what my living and life situation is like and why I'm now dependent on this. So I think, obviously I don't want to spoil everything, but there's one teacher who is like a PE teacher who he after he drinks, he wants to encourage the like scrawny kid in the class to be good at football, sort of thing, and he does very well. And he helps these kids in actually becoming a team and respecting each other and playing well, because of because of the alcohol. They don't really show what changes, but it's just the confidence essentially. And then like halfway through, after like they all have like a massive like night out of like just drinking as much awful stuff as they can, and they get just so smashed or whatever, then he turns up to work later just hammered, and they're worried about him, and they go to his work, and he's just like his house, and he's just got alcohol everywhere. He just constantly drinks, and he's living alone. He's clearly very miserable, and it's like, oh god, like you feel like, oh my goodness, like you don't really see anything about this guy's personal life at all compared to the others. And then when he commits suicide, and like everybody, like all the people that he's affected from it go to the funeral and say goodbye. It's like, oh, fucking hell, this is it's really heart wrenching because you actually care about these characters.
Yeah. And then the ending
is one of the best endings. It is spectacular. They teased it throughout the whole film, and it happened gloriously. Mads Mikkelsen, great in everything.
It kind of, because there's two ends of the spectrums about alcohol movies, which is alcohol is great, Project X, or let's all get drunk.
Yeah.
Let's do away with inhibitions. Forget
we're going to become the cool kids for one night.
Yeah. And then the other end of the spectrum is alcohol bad. Let's do this kind of stupid. Let's drink, and then here's the consequences. We all die. Our families are ruined. What? All that kind of stuff. And this kind of goes towards the first end of the spectrum, which is alcohol isn't that bad, and you can enjoy it, have a good time, but it doesn't go down that cheesy route in a sense. Like, you're going to become cool. You're going to become, they drink alcohol, and their life does kind of to an extent become better. I mean,
it does change their lives for the better, a lot of them. But some of them it doesn't, which is the point.
Yeah, exactly. And the best part of this is it very sensibly...
It's quite matter of fact.
This kind of, proposes this kind of thing where they have drunk, and they can now take away from this social experiment that they don't need to drink. They just need to...
Needs the confidence and the self-belief and the...
sort their lives out in the certain, like there's obviously that camping scene within this film where he's inebriated and he's having such a better time with his family, and then from that he takes, I need to engage with my family more, yada yada yada, not because of the alcohol.
He brings up the affair with his wife and fixes the relationship in the end, essentially, which he would never have the confidence to do before, and his change has made him become a better person whose wife would love. These are benefits.
Exactly, and it delicately puts that alcohol isn't the answer, but the kind of...
It helped them spur them to the change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the characters are smart enough to know that they don't need to depend, like the classic trope of like, if I don't drink this thing, then I'm not going to be as good as that. I need to, what am I going to do about it? It's like, no. Like, it's very much like these characters are smart enough to realise that it's not about the alcohol that's making them them. It's them that's making them them. That's the dumbest thing I've ever said. Anyway, very excellent film.
Yeah. I think the next film we watched was Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes. I think so. Loved it.
Yeah. Move on. Next one. No, I'm just kidding.
This was. I think this was going to be in my top 3, but then the films that came after it knocked it out. But this really was a wonderful film.
This was hard hitting, and
I think
it should have been, to be honest.
It made me shudder because of because it's clearly obviously about racism. It's about the Black Panther Party in America, but there's no outward. That you get the KKK members like, go back to where you came from, you blacks, or whatever. It's none of that. It's government policies, people in higher up positions saying things that you could understand. Believable things that right wing people or lesser tolerant people, not even that, lesser intelligent people perhaps would say, oh well, yeah, that makes sense. And then because of these comparisons, that's why they're acting as they're acting. It isn't like the outwards, classic, racist idiot tropes. It's which is what made it feel like gross to me, because it's this is really real and uncomfortable. That's what happened and why it happened and how it happened. And you have perfect casting of Lakeith Stansfield, Daniel Kaluuya, And then you also have like Jesse Plemons as the slimy FBI agent. So it's perfect casting.
It really was. Yeah, and it's perfectly frank, the right amount of frank, especially towards the end, which was.
Oh god, that ending was fucking hard to watch.
Yeah, really tough. And it kind of. It's just a good film to educate, because I didn't know anything about the Black Panthers going in. I didn't know anything about.
Me neither.
The Chicago section Black Panther leader. I can't remember his name.
Bobby Seale.
No, I'm talking about the Daniel Kaluuya character.
Fred Hampton.
Fred Hampton, that's it. Yeah. So Lakeith, Bill O'Neill, and then Fred. I just didn't know much about Fred Hampton. His story, his tragic death.
The end. It's like,
he wasn't entirely that extreme. If I'm taking the film as truth, he didn't seem that extreme, and obviously just the kind of lengths that the police and the government went to just kind of stop the Black Panthers in their trap.
And it shows very much like, you know, their goal is just to provide a better quality of life for people who don't have it, which is a very admirable. They united gangs. They kept people safe. They fed people. They educated people. And it was treated as a terrorist organisation, in the same vein that the Ku Klux Klan was, but they would never have treated the Ku Klux Klan like they did the Black Panthers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Especially that one night during Fred Hampton's death. Spoiler, obviously. That is just, and the fact that it's all based on truth, and I feel like the director and the writer and the adapted screenplay would have followed it as true as possible, especially given that the wife and son are still
alive, and they have like autobiographies and interviews and
it's mad. And the fact that the kind of bad guy of the film, obviously the main bad guy of the film is just
police,
government, police stuff, but also
corruption.
The Bill O'Neill, was the kind of the rat, the kind of
the Judas.
The Judas going against his own race, and kind of how he obviously eventually killed himself out of probably guilt.
Because he flits between it. He's like, he buys into the whole to the belief, because Daniel Kaluuya is just so charismatic and so just charming and knows what to do. He's just well versed and he's the perfect leader. He's the messiah for them. And then he buys in every now and then he feels betrayed sometimes, and so he goes back to the police and then realizes that maybe I'm betraying my race, and then goes, and then you feel for him because he does come across as a little bit pathetic, but
he's
sympathetic because he wants to fit in, and
he's trapped, I guess, in a way. The police have got something on him, and he probably just wants to get out. And he knows by the end that he's done wrong by obviously his actions at the end of the film.
And you see the actual real interview, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh god, this guy had some demons to take care of.
Yeah.
But I voted for
quite hard, for sure.
Yeah, I voted for Daniel Kaluuya to win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. So he was incredible in this.
I also did. And it's interesting. I saw some takes on social media or something that was kind of against Daniel Kaluuya playing a kind of American black legend, figure of power, because he was British, obviously. Which I don't know if I feel like that's being slightly picky, in my opinion. Obviously, as a Brit, we're both British. Maybe we're not best to.
Yeah,
but
it's like it's like would you want like a prominent English?
Told, right? Then.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know, like, because it is obviously American civil politics, American history, but I must admit I don't know many like, say, a British equivalent if it was played by an American, would I feel I don't know.
I wouldn't feel that. I feel like the fact that these stories need to be told is better than. I mean, it's not, if you casted a white guy as him.
That's exactly it. It's like you can't have white guy play Black Panther, but but
like,
I think something like that is you can sort of split those hairs.
Yeah, I think so. For the cause that this film is. I mean, and he was so good.
He was really good, and it really educated people like me and you who had no idea. We knew roughly that it was some political party in some way. That's about it.
Yeah. And I read a lot more about Fred Hampton after this film, and more about the Black Panthers, not just in Chicago, but all across the States. So,
weird enough, the Black Panthers actually come up in another film on the best Oscar list, which I'll get to later as well, which is interesting. But yeah, I think after this we watched One Night in Miami, if I'm right.
Yes.
Or did we watch Sound of Metal first?
I think we watched One Night in Miami first.
So this film I was very excited for because it's Regina King directing, who's she's done so much, and she was in Watchmen very recently and just fucking was amazing in that. And she's just directed basically it's these four prominent figures in Black history. So Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Sam Cooke, and Malcolm X. All at one night, they all stay in a hotel room together, and apparently this did happen. Like they did actually meet up at one of these days, and this is like a fictionalized account of what they would have been speaking about. It's always impressive when you make a film pretty much 80% set in one room, feel fresh and interesting every time.
Dialogue,
yeah,
dialogue heavy, and make it just so refreshing.
And I think everyone is really good in their roles. Like the guy who plays Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, is just like that cocky, confident energy. But even then, it's not. It's not like a caricature of like, I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bit. He's like conflicted about his like decisions about converting to Islam with Malcolm X.
And it's a very interesting thought piece, wasn't it? Of
yes.
different kind of
methods of improving Black people's lives and cultures and the cause angles. Essentially.
Yeah, obviously Malcolm X was a lot more extreme than especially like even Martin Luther King, but like any of those other three prominent black legends in the 60s. And it was very interesting and probably true to what they would have been like.
I think so.
Thoughts on kind of.
Sam Cooke was sort of like the butting heads with Malcolm X in that he's happy to be like a singer or whatever, but he's very much like a shrewd businessman in that physically actually profiting.
He was also in this scenario where he was earning money not from a white man, which is a rarity, obviously, a black man in the 60s.
Yeah.
And he was happy in that in that kind of zone. But, obviously Malcolm X was kind of pushing him towards, you have the greatest voice of us all, you have the biggest audience. You're
not actually sending the message to youth, you're just using it for like, he literally shows like la la la, I'm in love, 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 the basic sort of surface level messages and songs just to make more money so that he can, he was then using it to obviously propagate businesses and what he viewed as like outwardly actually helping, directly these people very tangibly rather than sending a message, whereas Malcolm X is obviously all about the message, the like sense of self-belief. And then I think Muhammad Ali is like a more to do with like he loves to be a showman and confident in that, but he doesn't want to buy into something he doesn't really believe or doesn't really know to. It doesn't come across as like he cared too much about Islam itself, more like he just sort of was good friends with Malcolm X in some ways. and wanted to help. And then Jim Brown was very much like, didn't like how he was being treated, even though he was like the best. He was like, this is nothing for me. I'm going to build a different career path in acting and film, because that's, it's just like he's the greatest anyway, and he's still getting the awful bad, racial prejudice. So why not, try and change it, and instead of just like finishing his career after he's going to be nothing after he finishes football. He's going to try and do something more for his life afterwards. So I thought it was really good that all four of them had they were quite fleshed out.
Yeah, and they all had their different angles on the civil rights movement, and it was just for what it was, like maybe 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. I can't remember. I
think it was about 1 hour 50.
Yeah, but of like predominantly in one room, just talking slightly different views, but also wanting all of them wanting the same goal. Just brilliant, absolutely.
Just different methodologies of achieving what they all combined want. And I think like Leslie Odom Jr., who plays Sam Cooke, that scene where he actually comes out and sings "Change Gonna Come," and then you see like the everybody else's lives after the like visit in the room. It's like such an incredible scene. I've watched it back on YouTube like 20 times at least. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a really good climax to what the whole film was kind of building towards. Yeah,
and it's wonderful. I really, really love that film. And it grew on me the more I thought about it afterwards. And I really wish...
I listened to that song a lot.
And now I've watched Trial of Chicago 7, Mank, and Nomadland. I don't know how that didn't get into the fucking Best Picture.
Yeah.
But,
do you want to talk about those two films now?
Sure. Why not? I'll get them out of the way.
Tap out, because obviously I didn't watch the two that you mentioned.
That's fine. Yeah, I watched Trial of Chicago 7. It's about the protesting Vietnam War, and there was 7 sort of activists on different groups who, there was more of like the hippie party, the young conscious rebellion party, the Boy Scouts leader, sort of, the Black Panther Party, who's not really actually involved in any way at all. He just happened to be there. And, who else is it? And there's 2 other people. I don't know. There's 2 other people who got, and they're all, because of their involvement in this, this like big staging of protest, they get arrested on like really crap charges, basically, and it's sort of like a political trial just to get them in prison because they're like the figureheads of this like movement, and it's just all about a really corrupt trial and how a really racist and bad judge, the lawyer who is played by Mark Rylance is pretty good. Is clearly like, this is a joke, like, there's no such thing as a political trial, and it's very clear that it is. And it's fine. It's just your courtroom drama, really. It does get better towards the end, but there's nothing wrong with it. I just think it was just all right. It was pretty good. There's a couple of really good scenes, but then there's like, because it's based on real life, some of the stuff you'd think, well, that's a bit dumb. That doesn't make any sense. Like, there's one point where, because they won't let the Black Panther guy, who has nothing to do with any of the case, he's been tried as well. He's like, look, my lawyer was hit in an accident and can't represent me and stuff. And so the judge is like, oh, whatever, you've got a lawyer. And he's like, no, I don't. I literally don't. I need to like give evidence and stuff. And they're like, no, you can't. Sit down. That sort of stuff. And there's people getting angry about that, rightfully so. It was all right. It was just all right. Sacha Baron Cohen, he's been nominated, but because he was doing this like weird Christopher Walken accent, I couldn't take him seriously.
Oh, really? I haven't watched any, obviously.
I really don't have much more to say about it apart from it was all right. It was all right. Michael Keaton turns up for like 5 minutes and steals the show. It's all right.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, Mark Rylance is very good in it. Him arguing with the judge, and like they give up like the facts and figures of like the judges' trials and like the confidence in him and that stuff. And I was like, it's right. But I'm shocked. I'm just a bit baffled that made the list of Best Picture. Like I don't look at that and think Oscar bait. I don't look at it and think like incredible in any specific,
Yeah, it's
area.
odd for Netflix to do an Oscar bait film because they're so often neglected by Oscar. I suppose Mank was also,
and Roma. Oh yeah, Mank was as well. Yeah.
Maybe they're getting towards maybe more respected in the Oscar community, but it does feel weird for any.
He had the talent behind it.
Oscar bait. Sorry,
it was Steven Soderbergh or whatever. So they had the talent and stuff behind it. It's just, I don't know. This film felt like it came out. It was meant to be like a decent film that everybody watched in like summer, and that was it. But just got nominated for Oscar.
Given more films and a proper year that wasn't dissipated by.
I don't think this would ever made the Best Picture list. No, but to be fair, I don't know how Another Round and like One Night in Miami didn't get there.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
True.
Mank, I watched that today. Fucking diabolical.
I saw your review.
It's in my review I stated it's the ultimate Oscar bait movie in that this film was formulaically made to win an Oscar, and it's so gross and sleazy because of that you can't take any of the content of the film genuinely. It's about the bloke who wrote the screenplay to Citizen Kane, and like the sort of political structures between like arguments in movie studios and the actual election of the office in America, and those things that inspired the characters and scenes in Citizen Kane. Mm-hmm. Now there's lots of like obviously references to some of the shots, like you got like the letterbox highlighting on like the character who clearly represents Charles Foster Kane. I've seen Citizen Kane, so I recognise some of these things, and even if you haven't watched it, you can sort of think, oh, they're referencing something from Citizen Kane. They make it very blatantly obvious. And I
was going to say actually, going back, that my one critique of One Night in Miami was that I always felt like it was pushing a reference of something,
Malcolm X's autobiography, or
anytime they kind of did one particular shot of Muhammad Ali or Jim Brown, I was like, okay, I get that's probably from a picture. That's from a thing.
That's a famous picture of them or a famous moment.
Which is fine, I guess, but kind of actually distracts from what they were doing.
It takes you out of it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's probably the same.
Like they stop over on sets of old movies and recreate some scenes from like 30s movies and stuff, and I'm just like rolling my eyes, like, oh, can we get on with this, please? Like, and it's the main character who's played with Gary Oldman. I don't think he ever says any line that isn't a witty comeback. Like everything he says is like he's Oscar Wilde, like he's Shakespeare. Everything he says is like poetry, and it's just like it's so annoying because he doesn't come across like a real character. He's literally like see, darling, and it's because it's an Oscar bait movie, desperate to win an Oscar about the most critically loved film of all time, about this very specific set thing about Hollywood movie studios. It just felt gross and money grabbing to me. And it's so boring. It's so fucking boring. I don't know anything about the Writers Guild and like writers credits and interesting, disputes between MGM and like Warner. God, I don't fucking care. It's so boring. I can't even. It's nothing. It feels like a parody movie of Oscar bait movies. It feels like something that SNL or like I don't know, Red Letter Media would do.
Annoyingly close to what will win an Oscar, which is the point of an Oscar bait movie to an extent, I guess.
Yeah, there's no substance. It's just it's pure Hollywood wankery to its finest degree. I do not recommend it. Right, let's move on to a film we've actually both watched and we both love. Sound of Metal.
Oh yes, this was my my pick of all of the list. It came third in yours, I know, but it's so difficult to choose between that top 3 or top 4. I can't really put into words why this film was above. Why this film was above like Promising Young Woman or just The Black Messiah or One Night Man. You know, like all the top 3 that we had, top 4 or 5. I just loved every second of it. It went quickly. It went so quickly, and I think that's always a good.
I think it was nearly 2 hours, and it was like you gripped and engaged in this. Riz Ahmed and who plays the woman in it, the love interest.
Olivia Cook.
Sure.
That. Something.
They're like great in it, and you really empathise with their characters, and they get to the main point of the film, and the way they obviously use the sound to deal with deafness is great.
Design is incredible.
But it's just it's
sound editing as well, just brilliant.
I don't know what more. What more can you say about the film really apart from it's so engaging, it's so gripping, it's.
It has it has such a small amount of substance to it, but it's so engaging. Like you really do feel Riz Ahmed's journey, like right from the off, it kicks you in. Okay, he's lost his hearing, and then from that point onwards, in terms of his frustrations with not being able to hear, his kind of a joy of starting to learn sign language, stuff like aspects of the journey from not being able to hear to accepting your disability, and every high and low in between that. The film so perfectly keeps you within those highs and lows, and it's not just like you're watching this guy, you really are feeling like for instance the frustrations when he first comes into the group. There's no subtitles to the sign language people that are all doing it around him, and he doesn't know because he's just joining the group, trying to learn,
it's great.
His first experience with it. You also get that frustration because you're watching and you have no idea what anyone's saying.
You feel I think it does a very good job of showing the awkwardness and the uncomfortable isolation of being deaf. And
it also,
go on.
It also captures that kind of. There's a moment towards the end of the film where he, even with everything he's slightly learned to deal with his disability and stuff like that, he still grabs at any chance he can to get rid of it.
To not have the disability.
To try to not have a disability, and it didn't go into a place that I hoped it wouldn't, which was, he's cured his disability, he's fine now, or or even getting his disability, he hates his life, he really wished he was deaf all along, or something like that. It was just
that's the thing, is that's the best part of it, is that when he got the because he obviously does the bit where he goes to this like addict centre for also people who are deaf, and he meets Paul Ratchie, who is excellent. He's like nominated, he's done fuck all apart from this film, and then he's just nominated for an Oscar. What a lad! And it's like you have that like heartwarming, like he's struggling, he doesn't know he fits in, he shouldn't be here, he misses his girlfriend, and he slowly learns to deal with it, and he has like pleasant interactions with, has the heartwarming stuff of like he's actually learning and he's getting along with people, and then you would think it would be more towards like I don't actually need this after all, I'm gonna live here with these people, blah blah blah, and it's like no, he does. Spoiler alert once again, he does actually take, sell everything and get the surgery for an implant. And then it's not like if it worked perfectly, there would be that would be a really big letdown. And it's not like it doesn't work either, and he's just shunned because of his decision. It sort of works, And that's the worst thing. It's not what he wanted, not what he expected. And because of that, he's isolated himself from everyone because of his decision.
And it doesn't end with a resolution in the sense of, because I thought like the hearing solution would be bad. He'd go back to the deaf community, and he'd really finally accept it. But he was kind of in this never zone. You know, he was accepting that his disability by the end of it, which was lovely. But it wasn't like he never went back, did he?
No, because
it was just
he got kicked out of the place for, I mean, and rightfully so, because these people have a disability that they'll never be able to clear, and him just coming back in, even though he's had it, is like a slap in the face of all these people. And he's like Paul Ratchie's in tears as he's doing this. He acts it so well, and you feel this real sense of sadness and loss and like shame and disappointment. And then obviously he goes to what he believes will just be back to his old life, and it's not. It really isn't. He's once again uncomfortably alone. And the final scenes, the way they use the audio everything from when he gets the implant onwards is just like, fucking God, it's so good. Like when his girlfriend's singing the French song, and it slowly goes from this beautiful, perfectly in pitch, like somber tune to how it actually sounds on the implant is like just fucking God, it's fucking awful. And then obviously the end of the film is like the perfect ambiguous ending of sort of like Icarus who flew too close to the sun. I don't know if that makes sense, or like be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. Yeah. But in a really good way, not in like
it's excellent.
The way to overdo that is he gets the hearing implant and then immediately it's awful. But it was just that kind of level of like he could maybe live with this impairment, And also underneath all of this was a really, really nice relationship. Well, not a nice relationship, but like a this kind of
healthy relationship, I suppose.
Healthy relationship, very, very codependent relationship, and it resolved itself at the end in which they both didn't need each other anymore, and they were both with each other for a period of their lives, especially when both were addicts, and that resolved themselves when one was able to let go of his addiction, not just with drugs, but like he let go of his need for sound. Yeah. He realized he didn't need her to depend on, and she also gave up him and didn't need him. That underlying story, brilliant as well.
They both helped helped each other through really difficult parts in their lives at that time, and then now they're going for another difficult part, and it's not like they're not willing to help each other. It's that they're just not. They're not right to be together in that situation, because it wouldn't help either of them.
And I always have a guilty pleasure for those kind of stories, relationships, romances in stories, in films where, they need each other for a certain period of their life, and then they move on and they go their separate ways very magnanimously. Any kind of story that tells that kind of romance, it's always got a soft spot for me, and then maybe that's why I put it as my top pick.
Yeah, I mean, it was my top three. It was my third favorite, but it's like so close to the other ones. There's absolutely everything it does in this film is like almost perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. It's an incredibly, good film to watch, and I think for me this should have been the one that should be like front runner, win everything film. But I don't know how this is sort of like just being talked about as like, it had good sound. I just know it's excellent. It's so good. Yeah. It's like, it's not just like one of the favourite films that I've watched for this year's Oscars. It's like one of the best films I've watched. Like it really goes into like that like all-timer great category. I thoroughly recommend it. Riz Ahmed will eventually win an Oscar, I'm sure of it. Right, I think we've got two films left to speak about. We've got the next fun film we watched was Promising Young Woman, which was my top pick. And and I give it like a 9.5 at the time, and I think it's come down a little bit to be in line with Another Round and Sound of Metal. But I really, really love this film. This is like a flip on a rape revenge film, almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels so current and pertinent at the moment. It's so uncomfortable to watch as a man. Not implying that I'm a rapist or I have like horrible, but it's just like the general attitude and like how slimy and awful things could come across, and how these things affect women that you may not think about as it would affect women, but sometimes that people can be complicit in that toxic attitude, and this film is just it's, I don't know, it comes across like a thriller or a horror, but it's not. It just has that sort of tone and feel, and it's very on edge and ready to like burst at any point.
Yeah, it was great to watch. It was really, like you said, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, knowing that something weird was going to happen.
Bo Burnham.
It didn't fall into a lot of tropes, which it could have done, and even then, it's a story that needs to be told. Men taking advantage of women and
the denial of like responsibility and trying to forget.
Policing will always favour the man's side of the story. He said, she said, all that kind of stuff. It could have been like, I don't know. It could have. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but it could have been. It could have gone down the kind of no
schmaltzy.
The women's always right. Well, in this scenario, which is also a good point, but it kind of played on a few things. Like there were times where I thought, okay, she's going down the route of like, all men are evil, and then there was a point where I was like, oh no, okay, that's a really good point. She does. Oh no, not all men are evil, because they're not. There's many men in the world that aren't evil, and there's pictures on the head again. And I was like, oh no, men are all trash.
Yeah, men are all fucking trash.
Back again, and I was like,
it's really hard hitting in that way. Bo Burnham perfectly cast as the traditional, because it is like it becomes halfway through, because it starts off as like a very much like a she pretends to be drunk in clubs to get guys to pick her up and clearly force themselves upon her in her vulnerable state, and she snaps out of it obviously and gives them a fucking... You don't know if she kills these people at the start, but it turns out she just shames them and tries to like, she writes in different coloured pens how bad they were. It doesn't tell you, it just implies it. And there was some sort of trauma that happened early on because she was a very, very clever person, very clever doctor. And that was... but they don't have to outwardly state what it was. They just let you imagine. And that makes it worse. And she's obviously a bit jaded and bitter from this. And so when she comes across Bo Burnham, his character, it almost turns into like a traditional rom-com.
Yeah, with aspects of that for sure.
And it's sort of like you sort of wonder where it's going to go with the tone, because it is obviously very tense and it's a black comedy for certain, in that it's very matter of fact, and you've got like Clancy Brown playing the dad, and he's just like a sweet man, which is very funny because it's Clancy Brown. And just like throughout the whole thing, you think, okay, what's going to happen? And when it does have the flip of Bo Burnham was also there and was being a prick as well, she goes through all of the people who wronged her in her life, and they go through every one of the classic excuses of like, it was so long ago, you're going to ruin someone's life over this, and isn't innocent till proven guilty. I mean, I don't know, she was dressed that way, sort of thing. And they really just like hard hitting, just like expose the hypocrisy of all this. And it's just the finale is a fucking just a wild
Yeah.
ride.
I also thought the message towards the end, not to ruin what happens at the end, but I thought it was going to be that men, brackets general, gets away with it once again, and then that's the message of the film: is men always get away with it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then also, that's not the end of the film, and she does get a revenge, and that was also great to see. But it still had that message in general, like you know, it had that like good 5-minute scene of the men planning. Oh, just say this, you know. This is what happened. It doesn't need to go down that route. I believe you, you know, and how the man's voice in these scenarios
is overpowering the literal dead.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, even though it is like a very much like she gets her revenge in the end, she gets it at such a horrible cost that is, it feels like you feel just fucking gross and you want to take a shower after this film. But it's, I think it just generally great film.
Yeah, it also makes you think of the times in the past where you've also been on the bad end of this scenario, and you go, God, you know, that's the whole point of the film as well, you know, to educate. Like, this film could be shown to those guys that fall into that category, to be like, oh no, what that is bad. You know, a girl drunk who is intoxicated, that's not okay.
But that's sort of what it feels like, because she shames men into trying to realise the error of their ways, whether or not that's the best method, and she has like the whole she can't tell if what she's doing is black or white, is right or wrong, and if she's going about the best method, and that's essentially what the film is doing, is like making guys and like look at themselves and past behaviours and think, no, you can do better, you should change this and make the world a better place without this toxic masculinity. Which is why it was sort of like, I went, oh my god, that's such a clever little thing to do with a character and the purpose of a film. But I think that's why it was my favourite. Just like, it didn't just resonate with me. I thought it was just very clever, and it's like a directorial debut for Emerald Fennell, right? And it's just like, just smashed it. Yeah, just Carey Mulligan, just incredible in that role.
The Britney Spears Toxic score.
Oh, it's really good.
Absolutely. That was leading up to that. I was like, yeah, this slaps. This is so great.
Yeah, I agree. It's really good. I think
it hit the markers for a really enjoyable film. And actually, out of all the films in that list, it's the least Oscar
one. Am I right? That's why I loved it. I was watching all these films thinking like, I could see this is nominated. This is about a powerful figure. You know, this is about injustice or racial injustice. Sort of, this is about someone who's, you know, something in Hollywood. You know, this is a disability. You know, you got all the fucking big hitters here. And then
if a friend of mine right now was like, hey, I haven't seen any of the Oscar noms, I want to watch them all for some, let's pretend that scenario happens, and then goes, I want to watch one now. If I had to pick one to rewatch, as in like I'd get most enjoyment out of a second watch, I think this is the top of my list.
Yeah,
like,
I think so.
I had Sad Metal as my favorite. Like, I feel like as a good watch, it's got that value as well.
Yeah. In the absolute opposite way of how Mank is the ultimate Oscar bait film, this feels like it's absolutely nothing did not care about the Oscars at all. It's more about the message itself and just being a good film, and that's why it was so refreshing as well. This would have been a good film no matter what time of year, and I don't want to give things like, oh, it's an Oscar nominated film that has this benefit or whatever. It's you know, you do take that into account, like the purpose behind the film, but generally most of these films are just good anyway. Promising Young Woman, my favourite pick, but it won't win anything because fuck you. Right, let's talk about the last film on the list, and that's The Father.
So sad.
That is the most harrowing film I've ever watched. It's just.
I mean, if you have any kind of connection to the subject matter of this film, which is kind of elderly suffering with dementia, especially like a family member.
Yeah, it's straight up with it as well.
It's hard hitting.
Oh, it is,
and it is very straight up.
I mean, I've had people with dementia and Alzheimer's in my family. It's just like, this is just fucking awful. Just so there's no like rose tinted look at this. It's just, this is what it is. This is how bad it is. And this is just a vehicle for Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman to just act at each other for 2 hours, and it's incredible.
Also, the way it was edited, maybe also directed, is there's so many aspects of it through Anthony Hopkins' character's kind of eyesight or lens, where he didn't know what like the whole film is very contorted and you don't really understand what's going on because of dementia.
You're viewing it through his eyes and his mind.
There's scenes that like kind of loop back around to the start of the scene because he's not understanding what's going on, and the way that story was told was just so. It's
perfect. I mean, it's edited by the guy who did like The Favourite and Lobster, and it's just like the like time is convoluted. The actors and the people who turn up and the details of like the rooms and the locations and stuff and how it all seamlessly fits together to tell a story of someone's life, and just like. I thought it was really, really good, and just like I was in tears so many times because of just Anthony Hopkins deserves the Oscar. I'm sorry, Chadwick Boseman. I know you died, but man, Anthony Hopkins.
No, he was the best actor of all the lead actors for sure.
And it's like, and I know it's like when you get to a certain age, he's playing someone with dementia or something. That's like the most obvious. And it is just it's nothing, there's no, like, nothing else deeper to this film. It's just like, this is what dementia is like. This is very much like hey, look, dementia's bad and it deteriorates people of who were, once probably, more well-respected or smarter or more intelligent or charming people, and it's just this very like sad, harrowing tale of like what it becomes, and just like Anthony Hopkins at the end of the film when he just completely breaks down, and it's just fucking heart-wrenching to watch because you just feel this immense sadness of not just him but everyone in his life because of it, because it's such a horrible disease. I don't think I really don't know what else there is to say apart from it's sad, it's horrible.
It's a short film as well. It doesn't need to be longer than it is, and they knew that. What is it, like an hour and a half? Yeah. It's predominantly done in the same room. It's all cut up. I don't know whether it was all directed and then they got in what's his name from The Favourite and the Lobster.
Yorgos
really
Lanthimos
told the story in how it was chronologically told. I'm not sure, but man, it was.
It's a masterpiece. I never want to watch it again, but it is a real, you look at that and you think, okay, that's just like quality filmmaking, quality acting, quality editing, all rolled in one.
Anyone that thinks that Anthony Hopkins doesn't still have it for any reason, he definitely does. Oh boy. I think in terms. Oh no, I know. I think in terms of like technicality, on like a technical basis of like how good a film is, I think this is the technically best film of all of the list. But it's not my favourite. It's not the most entertaining and the most poignant for me. Yeah. Of what I think of an Oscar film, of like Oscar films in the past, and that aren't too Oscar baity, like Mank, like like films we've seen in the past, Green Book or whatever, La La Land,
Moonlight,
the films that are writing towards the Oscars being, say, please like me. This is kind of along those lines, but not in the sense of like I want the Oscar, and in the sense of I'm not really telling much of a story. I just want that Oscar.
It's more of a subject matter that they would usually cover.
This is the father is like, it's telling his story and telling it so well.
Yeah.
And weirdly, like, out of the list, it probably should win. Like, it's odd with Nomadland. I think if Nomadland wasn't in there, I think The Father's a shoo-in. All the other films I liked too much to be an Oscar film, Oscar winning. But I think for some reason I just, especially how well Nomadland's done in other award ceremonies and over the last few months. But Oscar is, Oscar. The Father is very good and could easily win the Oscar. And if it did, I wouldn't be.
I wouldn't be unhappy if it didn't. Here's the thing: it's like, it's weird because looking through, like, when I made a lot of these predictions before I'd watched even the films, and I was sort of like, oh, okay, Nomadland, I could see why. It's got a lot of buzz around it. Okay, that'll win everything. And after watching all of the films, I'm sort of like, why? Why was that chosen? I'm sorry. I don't know.
Maybe I watched Nomadland on off day, and then on another day it could have been very, very good. But
yeah,
I didn't get into it personally.
Didn't engage with it. Didn't.
No, you didn't too. So
I'm not saying it's a bad movie or I'm not happy it was made. Like, I didn't connect with it. I didn't find it that interesting. I didn't take anything away from it. Whereas, to me, it just doesn't make sense compared to these other films. Why it's getting so much attention? And it's not. If it was like because she was the only female director, I'd be sort of like, oh, okay. But the other female directors have done they did much better films, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So I think that's our views on the films. We didn't see Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I don't know anything about that, so I can't comment on that, unfortunately. I watched Soul. I thought that was really good. I really loved the emotions behind the film, but it's thinking back on it, the writing was pretty poor. But it's one of those. It's a Pixar film.
I also saw a very, very interesting article, and probably something to talk about off this call, about how in animation, what happens quite a lot with characters that are people of color often getting turned into something more easily watchable. Like in Soul, he gets turned into a blue thing and then a cat.
Oh really? Okay.
Like Princess the Frog.
Princess and the Frog gets turned into a frog.
And then there was a good like 3 or 4 other examples, and it made me think like, oh yeah, maybe
to like reduce the amount of like black characters on screen, or
and I was like, I mean, it put the film in a different light to me, slightly, and I was like, okay, maybe there is a problem there. Slightly,
that is actually, goodness, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, same, right? It had to be told to me before I was like, oh no, you're right, actually. And a few other examples backed it up. Obviously, I maybe that's a probably discussion to have off this call and stuff like that. But
that is interesting.
Regardless of that, I think it wasn't as good as Coco.
I really did like Soul though. I thought the emotional highs were really, really good. I just think it's just a good Pixar film, but like it just needed a better script.
Like he kind of came back, he got his life back pretty like terribly written. Oh, you're fine. We're gonna give you another chance.
Yeah,
happy.
It's like
there were some aspects I didn't like.
Well, that's it. It's like the message behind it of like you've not lived your life properly. You've sort of like not lived in the moment and blah blah blah. And then it's even deeper than that. It's like, oh, if you do achieve your dream, sometimes you won't achieve your dream. Sometimes if you do, it's not what you expected it to be, and it's not reached the heights.
Exactly.
And then even further than that, it's like just be and live and experience the world. And I was like, God, this is like 3 layers deeper than a normal Pixar film would be. I can't believe it. And that's why I really, really liked that part. But like, the hippie who can also go into the soul realm and things, that sort of like nonsense stuff. I'm just like, yeah, okay. Roll my eyes. Right, yeah, I can write that out.
Yeah, I agree.
But no, Soul's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's a good Pixar film. But
so right now, should we very, very quickly go through each category, what you've put, what I've put, and then sign off.
Yes, I think so. So this is what I think will win it. Not what my favourites are. So what I think will win it, I think me and Martin are pretty much in agreement for most of these. And there's a couple of categories I'm not even going to mention because who cares about, best documentary short subject. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's just go for the big hitters.
Yeah. Best picture, we both think Nomadland will win it.
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Yep. Unfortunately. Best director, we both think Chloe Zhao for Nomadland will win it. Mm-hmm. If I had to pick personally for these, I would choose obviously Promising Young Woman and Thomas Vinterberg for another round as best director. Yeah. Best lead actor, you still went with
differed, right?
Yeah, you went with Chadwick Boseman again, and I thought Chadwick Boseman until I saw Anthony
Hopkins. Seen the film. Neither of us have seen the film.
Nope.
And I just think.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a kind of like with everything that's happened this year, a year and a half. Just think maybe it will just be a nice touch. But obviously, I think Anthony Hopkins should be best lead actor. And that's what you're going for, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see who is more correct in that. Do I want? It would be a nice touch if it was.
I love Chadwick Boseman, and he's a nice guy. He deserves recognition and awards. It's just I
guess
can't
also not
shake
giving
how.
Anthony Hopkins, not giving Anthony Hopkins the Oscar that he probably deserves is also.
It's one of the performances of his life,
Yeah.
I just. Yeah, I don't want to be cynical, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You should personally give out rewards unless it was anywhere near Oscar-winning worthy. I haven't seen his role. I don't know if he was that good, but from what I've heard, not so much. And
he deserves an honorary award because it's tragic.
My prediction is that he will win it, and we'll see. Come.
I won't feel bad. I won't feel bad if he wins it. I won't feel bad, but
no, of course.
I gotta go with my gut. Best lead actress, we both put Frances McDormand for Nomadland.
Yes.
Yep, she got naked in a river. I think Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. She's been up there pretty much every single year for a couple of years now, like Hidden Figures, and I look her up and she's been just fucking everything. But I think Carey Mulligan should win it probably, but I don't think she will win it. Frances McDormand has it in the bag. Mm-hmm. Best supporting actor, we both put Daniel Kaluuya. Yep.
Fred Hampton, he was great.
Yep, agree. I mean, Lakeith Stanfield nominated for the same film as in best supporting actor as well.
Both supporting actors, even though Lakeith really should have been. He was really the lead.
Apparently, it's because of.
Shitty, but...
Well, it's because of how they vote for the actual acting portrayal. Like, they voted a lot for both of these as best supporting actor because they couldn't decide who was the lead actor, so they put them both in it. It's very interesting. Yeah, it's not like one was snubbed from being lead actor or not. That's just how it came about in the categories apparently.
Okay, I guess either one I don't think would have a chance of being best lead actor, whereas both of these in supporting actor, there's chance for either of them because they were both very good. Also, Paul Raci was great if he was to win.
This is the best. This is the best group. I mean, apart from Sacha Baron Cohen, who I wasn't too hot on. I think Leslie Odom Jr. for Sam Cooke. Paul Raci and both the guys from Judas Black Messiah. It's a really strong group. I wouldn't mind if anyone wins it apart from Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah.
And then best supporting actress, we both went for Yuh-Jung Yoon from Minari as the grandmother. She was just the best. In my heart of hearts, though, I have a sneaking awful feeling that Amanda Seyfried will win for Mank.
I haven't seen it. I don't know what her performance was like.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, I hope. If Olivia Colman won again, I wouldn't mind because of the father. But or Glenn Close, who was nominated for a Razzie for the same role, I would love if she wins an Oscar and a Razzie at the same time. That would be amazing. I've not seen the film though, so I can't. Best animated feature. It's obviously going to be Soul in it. Best adapted screenplay. We both sort of and ahed about this, and we both went for One Night in Miami.
I hope it was.
I hope so too. I think it's a really clever adaptation.
To write all of those characters and not make it feel kind of dumb,
cheesy or fake.
To make that want to be watchable again.
Yeah.
And also have the message not be preachy to an extent. I think she did a magnificent job. Yeah. I wouldn't be.
Yeah. Kemp Powers. See, the thing is, once again, I'd love for One Night in Miami to win there, but got a sneaking suspicion it's going to be Nomadland or The Father. Best cinematography, we went for Nomadland again. Joshua James Richards. To be fair, that's probably like the thing it does deserve because it was very, very pretty and had lovely locations and shots. Yeah, fuck you, Mank. Yeah, I mean, as much as I like Judas and the Black Messiah, I can't remember specific shots or like, bits of cinematography that I was like, wow, that was really nice. Whereas I can in Nomadland. Best original screenplay. Now this is an interesting one. We differed here. I went for Minari, and you went for Sound of Metal, and I think that's fair enough. I don't know. I think I have no idea. I have no idea. I just gut feeling.
This is an interesting one. I don't really know. These all five of these are very un-Oscar-y. A story of Black Panthers, a story about a South Korean family, a story about rape revenge. Riz Ahmed, who's obviously Middle Eastern or half Middle Eastern, and then I haven't even seen Trial of Chicago 7, but also has. So they're all quite interesting choices, and there's no let's go to the white person in this category. I think I just went with what I enjoyed more in this one because I couldn't really decide, so I just went for Sound of Metal.
I can never decide what constitutes the best screenplay. Is it the most interesting, most well written, like the most ambitious? And so I think it's just
I don't know. It could be good for that. It's probably a good call.
That's probably why I never get these right. But that's why I think any of these films could. I mean, even Trial of Chicago 7 has like a lot of non sequitur, out of order narrative, and so it could possibly. Personally, I think The Father. Oh no, that's original. Oh, ignore me then. Any of these films could win it. I don't know. I got a feeling it's gonna be Minari. I don't know why. It's just sort of heartwarming, interesting introspection. I mean, I think in terms of like something originally written, I think Promising Young Woman and Sound of Metal also have a good chance in that, and obviously Judas and the Black Messiah. But just for some reason, I just don't know. I don't know what it is. Best original song, whatever. I think we just guessed now. I said something from Judas and the Black Messiah.
I don't know any of these songs. So yeah, this to me was. I don't know what you put. I didn't.
I don't think it matters. I don't think we care.
I don't want to be on the podcast.
No.
I don't care. Yeah.
Best original score. You went for Mank, by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I went for Soul.
Oh yeah.
Which is written by the same people, weirdly.
It's also Trent Reznor. Fuck.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Weird, right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
probably got a shoe in for an Oscar, I think.
It's all about music, which is why I'm sort of like, yeah, it's maybe.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think Trent Reznor will win an Oscar.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
So best sound is, so they actually combine sound editing and sound production into one. So it's just best sound this year, and we both went for Sound of Metal because, I mean, what more to say? It's obvious. Their use of sound was.
I'd be shocked if that doesn't win, and annoyed in a way.
I wouldn't. I'd be baffled if it didn't win.
Yeah.
It's the most interesting use of sound in a film I've seen in a long, long time. Best costume design, we went with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I don't know nothing about this, so I'm just going to cut this out of the film. Cut this out of the end. Best film editing. Now, this is one we differed on, and I think this is an interesting one. And I went for The Father by Yorgos Lanthimos as the editor, not the director, weirdly. And you went for Nomadland because everything with Nomadland.
Oh, I figured that Nomadland's going to win a lot. In fact, kind of thinking over this, maybe I'll stick with Nomadland.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Already,
you're probably not wrong.
Absolutely nailed the editing. So
that's it. It's because of how well edited together all the shots were and how seamless it was in this one, not like one take, but this one through line. Whilst it also being completely convoluted and muddled. That's why I was like, oh, this is incredible. But it'll probably be Nomadland. Best international film, we said another round. It's the only one we've seen. But
I haven't watched the others. Maybe I will. I've heard that Tunisian film,
I've heard
Sort of Skin, is very good.
I've also heard that. I don't know anything about. I haven't heard anything about the other ones though. So
yeah, I haven't heard any others. But
yeah,
I mean, we both loved another round, so it's kind of silly to go for anything else.
And then it's like a couple, the couple like best makeup and hairstyling. Mank and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Best production design, we both went for Mank. I mean, just loads of old 1930s film studio sets. Yeah, it's gonna win it. And best visual effects, very funnily, we went for Tenet, and I was like, that film came out that year.
I figured that's what Christopher Nolan usually gets in terms of Oscars, isn't it? Just
the visual effects were amazing.
Nothing
in Tenet.
Nothing else until I didn't watch that film. It looked stupid. I think I guessed prior to watching the film that it would be a joke, like a palindromic plot, and then someone was like, "No, that is what it is."
That is it. Yeah, you're not wrong.
So I'm still probably not gonna watch it. I have heard.
I must admit though, I
think that was on Netflix.
Oh really?
Which looked alright. I watched the first half of Mulan and it was boring.
It's rubbish.
I haven't watched The Midnight Sky and I haven't watched the
one and only Ivan. No, I haven't.
But I feel like Tenet will probably win that as well.
Yeah, it had a mixture of forward moving and reverse shots together that were really cleverly composed and stuff. And it looks, it's a visual spectacle, as all Christopher Nolan films are. If you just ignore the fact that you have no fucking clue what's going on with the plot, and you can't understand what anybody's saying, it's still a visual feast. So, and that's our Oscar predictions. It's late at night here in England, so I'm sure I'll add on a little thing at the end after I find out the results, and I'll see how we do.
Yeah, you do that. You can tot up who wins point for point, even though almost all of our predictions are the same. So it'll come down to 3 categories. Yeah,
pretty much. But yeah, I mean, this has been not a very good year for films, obviously, but it's still got some pretty decent ones out there, which is quite nice. I don't know. Should have gone to Godzilla vs King Kong, if I'm honest. That's the best picture.
Of course, maybe
the fact that it wasn't nominated, it's a fucking joke.
Rolled it over a year and given it Sonic the Hedgehog from last year.
I think so too. I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is already coming out, and I mean that's going to rival The Hobbit, in terms of ambition and scope.